Good morning, welcome to Joy News Desk. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemne. Coming up this morning, Joy News' Hotline documentary shows how some people in the creative arts industry are battling addiction and substance abuse. We'll hear from a clinical psychologist on how this can be kept.
I'm not gonna lie, I started these drugs around at the year 19. I was a little kid, I was a little bit stubborn because Charlie, you need something strong.
Also in this package, Ghana Police Service identifies and locates 12-year-old girl allegedly married to 63-year-old Bobu Wulomo. Even as public outcry continues, we'll hear from the Pediatric Society of Ghana on this. Plus, Accident Victim Support Foundation seeks help to support crash victims. We'll bring you more on this. My name is Aisha Ibrahim, and we're also live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X Spaces. To stay for details. The Ghana Police Service says it has identified and located the 12-year-old girl allegedly married to 63-year-old Bobu Wulomo. This follows a public outcry over the incident, with many Ghanaians condemning the act. A statement by the Ghana Police Service reads, the girl and her mother are currently under police protection. The Ghana Police Service is working with the Ministry of Gender Protection and the Department of Social Welfare to provide her with the necessary support while the matter is being investigated. Meanwhile, the Pediatric Society of Ghana is condemning any act or perception of facilitation of child marriage. The group is urging relevant authorities to investigate the matter. I've been joined, thankfully, by Dr. Emmanuel Opon, who is the Vice President of the Pediatric Society of Ghana. Grateful for your time, Doc. First, let me gauge on your mood on what has happened. Dr. Emmanuel Opon, if you can hear me, I'm asking for your preliminary observation of what has happened.
Yes, thank you, Aisha. I hope I can be heard.
Yes, loud and clear.
Good morning to Ghana, and thank you for this opportunity to speak to what has been happening over the past few days. Yes, the Pediatric Society of Ghana, like everyone else, has been following the discourse on a child marriage that happened over the weekend. And it has been very difficult for all Ghanaians to accept that this practice happened in this age and time. We issued a statement yesterday to condemn any form of child marriage. We've heard in some circles that it is not a marriage that comes with all the duties of married partners, including conjugal duties. But that does not mean this is okay. That does not protect the interests of our children. Even the perception of a child, anyone less than 18 years, being married off like that, has so many implications for the development of the child, for the education of the child, for the psychological and mental well-being of the child. So we are not just talking about the real child marriages that are happening everywhere in this country, but the idea that we can openly encourage and endorse these practices, citing supposed benefits. Some have argued that, oh, it has benefits for the family, and then they are going to support the child and everything. No. Are we saying that we are not able to provide for the child? Are we saying we are not able to care for the child if this child is not married off? Come on, that is not right. And the Society of Ghana is saying that all of us should get involved. Let's raise the awareness. Let's educate each other. And those that are not well informed as to why this practice is not acceptable, we have room for further discussions and reformation so that they can also renew their minds about how these cultural practices and customs can still be carried out without endangering the child. Child marriage is unacceptable, and no amount of excuses and explanations should be accepted. Thank you.
What does your society intend to do to ensure that this girl is actually safe? We're being told by the police that she's being protected, but how do you intend to ensure that she's being protected and she's not subjected to all the practices that you and I fear that she may be subjected to?
There are so many aspects to this issue, and as the Society of Ghana, we have always sought to work with partners and collaborators, like-minded entities, agencies, including our media partners, to make sure that the well-being of the child is always of utmost priority. So we intend to keep engaging all the institutions, our Ministry of Gender and Child Welfare, our police service, our media, every institution that has been mandated to protect the welfare of our children. We are saying that we are ready to partner with you, we are ready to work with you to make sure that not only this child is protected and saved and rescued from this path, but all other children everywhere in Ghana will get the same opportunity and response. Thankfully, we are hearing about this. But Aisha, there are so many of these practices going on in this country in 2024. Over the past 10 years, a lot of work from UNICEF and other partners and our ministry have gone on to drastically reduce the incidence of these child marriage practices. We are saying that even one child going through this is not enough, it's bad enough. And therefore, we are going to work with all agencies, all partners, for people and institutions to act. That's all we are saying. We already have the institutions and structures to respond to such an incident. And not just this isolated one, but all the others. So all we are saying is that let's partner, let's all come together, let our state agencies respond, guided by the legal framework that protects this child and all the other children.
What's the role of the Pediatric Society in ensuring that such practices that put children at stake, the future of children at stake, are curtailed in our societies?
Awareness creation is one of our key mandates. It is being said in some circles that those who perpetrate these acts and encourage these acts themselves are not informed, one, that it is illegal, and two, that they have understood it as beneficial in terms of ensuring that our culture is continued, in terms of the benefit to the child and then the family. What we are saying is that as the Society of Ghana, we will continue to create awareness in every quarter so that the appropriate agencies and individuals and institutions will come to know that this is still ongoing and it still deserves our attention. Secondly, one of the key mandates that we have is to ensure that the health and well-being of all children, including those who have gone through these practices, are safeguarded and protected. So it's ours to look out for this child and all the others and link them up with healthcare institutions. All the pediatricians and child advocates and practitioners all over the country are always on standby to offer care so that all the health implications that this child and all the other children have suffered can be mitigated. So these are the two main things that as society we are going to focus on. Creating more awareness as we have done by issuing this statement and calling on all partners to also respond in this manner, and also offering to make sure that whatever the health needs of this child and all the other children who have gone through similar abuses can also be offered and ensure that they have the potential and be able to develop as children.
Dr. Emmanuel Opon, I'm grateful for your time. He's the Vice President of the Pediatric Society of Ghana. Away from that, Joy News' latest Hotline documentary has shown how some people in the creative arts industry are battling drug use. Some of them have been badly affected and have suffered the scourge of drug addiction in various ways. But the big question is what leads them into the act. Kwame Dazi's creative addictions delves into this as some creative open up on how they found themselves in such a nose and the effects it has had on them.
At a point in time, I left my comfort zone, my abode, and I came to Medina Ghetto, and I fraternized with rocks and wolves. I became a night owl, always on a wild goose chase. And sometimes making 3 square meals a day seems difficult and almost impossible for me.
This is Noah King, a presenter who once worked with a popular radio station in Accra in the early 2000s. Noah's exceptional presentation skills earned him a lot of admirers. But his promising radio career was truncated when he was plunged into an abyss of drug addiction. Noah King tells me that he started using drugs before he got into the media space. However, he says the situation got worse when he traveled with some musicians for a concert in Tamale. That was when he was introduced to more dangerous drugs.
And then the Kokumba Nanumba war erupted. So the Ghana Armed Forces, the Ghana Police Service, the National Security Apparatus thought that it were prudent on your part to organize a peace concert dubbed Operation Gongo in the 3 northern regions so as to forestall peace in the environs. So apparently, my father having, this koinonia with most musicians told one that yes, I want my son to join you guys so that he can familiarize himself since he's at home doing nothing. So we're airlifted here from Accra to Tamale. When we go to Tamale, the hotel that we were put up, I saw things that were alien to me, things that were foreign to me, things that I never knew anything about. Though I had experimented cannabis sativa way back in college, way back in during my secondary school days. So this time I realized that these things were foreign, and then one guy who was with me, whose name is Kofi, well, he was pointed to me, this is crack, this, what are you doing is cappuccinos, this is cocktail, and what he's holding is a bunker.
Noah King's curiosity fueled his woes. He was convinced that the source of the assertiveness and the energetic performances of the musicians was drugs.
So when I saw them do that, I said, okay, then this is what gets them euphoric. And when they stand on stage, they mesmerize us. And I said, okay, fine. So when they were done with all that they were doing that very night, we were called upon to clear the residue. And myself and Kofi chanced upon a couple of freebase. When I say freebase, I mean crack on the table and some on the floor. So we took them. And Kofi knows much into it, and therefore he fixed the crack and he took a hit. And he asked me too. I said, yes, I want to try it, because if this is giving them the euphoric and the energy and the drive, then I think it's a good thing. And I tried it, and trust me, I was like a moonraker. I saw myself like an angel suspended in the air.
According to satirist Kweku Sintim Misa, popularly known as KSM, the biggest push for drug use among talents in the creative industry is the ability of the drugs to evoke wild creative ideas.
They tell you that drugs will enlarge your creative horizon. There are so many things that you can create and do that under normal circumstances you will not be able to. And surprisingly, there's some truth to it.
For most people who use illicit drugs, they start as children or teenagers.
Well, I've been joined via Zoom by Dr. Eugene Dodoye. He is a clinical psychologist with the University of Health and Allied Sciences. Grateful for your time, Doc. First, what has study shown to be the cause of these creative artists relying on hard drugs with the objective of actually getting very active and also getting creative ideas?
Thank you very much for this. I hope you can hear me clearly.
Loud and clear, Doc.
Great. Yeah, so it's a challenge we have, and I think I'll first correct that I'm a consultant psychiatrist, not a psychologist.
Okay, great.
But, yeah,
Thanks for
I
the
work
correction.
a lot with drug addiction and other forms of addiction. So just as KSM explained a bit, so what drugs of abuse happen, which can be closely aligned or is akin to when people are getting orgasm through sex, the excitement and the joy sometimes make you take away any inhibitions. So we call these social inhibitions. That is probably because I am on the set, I'm on national, media, I will not be able to use some words here. But if I'm with my wife or with my friends, I can freely use some words. I can probably even dress differently. So there is a social inhibition that prevents us from expressing our thoughts and our feelings with disregard to everything. So that social thing prevents you from doing a lot of things. It doesn't mean that things don't occur to your mind or they don't occur to you. They actually do. So what happens when we take drugs of abuse, which include alcohol, cocaine, heroin, tramadol, and all that stuff, is that it tends to take away these social inhibitions. And that is what is even culturally known as you are going to hire a lawyer. Because when people get drunk, they can say all manner of things which hitherto they couldn't have been able to say, especially to their in-laws and all that. So we look at that and say that if a drug can take away these social inhibitions, then that is going to mean that anything that occurs to you, you will be able to express them. And that is what they see as now they are better, because it is not easy to stand in front of a crowd and just perform. There will be shyness, and there will be, things that will restrict you or inhibit you from expressing yourself freely. Okay, so drug of abuse, apart from giving you that feel-good factor, also remove these social inhibitions, also allow you to be able to express yourself freely. So the problem we have with that is that after you're able to express yourself using the drug, unfortunately, the other consequences of the drug makes it too expensive to be used for that purpose. So it's basically like you have a fly on your TV screen, which you want to get rid of the fly. And instead of probably using a scarf or a cloth to get rid of the fly, you go and use a hammer or a shoe or something solid to kill the fly on the TV screen. Definitely the fly will die, but you would have damaged your TV screen. So here the TV screen refers to your body. The fly refers to that social inhibition, that shyness that you have. So if you don't use the appropriate tool or the appropriate training to remove the shyness for you to be able to perform, and you use drug, yes, you would remove the shyness and perform, but your TV screen, which is your body, will be damaged. And unfortunately, there's a disease called addiction. So addiction is a disease on its own. Once you start and you go on onto it, there is almost like a no brake applied, or can be applied, or any reverse gear. So people just go downhill just to destroy their life. So the very reason why you were going to use the drug to perform, now you use the drugs, you don't have any time to write new music, you don't have any time to even go on stage, because you are so high on the drugs that there is, no way for you to prepare, what we call, so you impair your social function. So basically you use that initial, gratification to perform, to ruin a whole career of, showbiz, and that is quite unfortunate. So our showbiz players should be made to understand that they stand a very high risk because of the nature of their job, where they need to come on stage, they need to impress people, they need to do so many stuff, and these are very important. The approach is not to use drugs to remove that shyness for you to perform, because the cost is that you...
Right, so Dr. Dodoyi is okay, so aside the damage that these creative artists cause to their own body, what's the danger to society? Remember, these people are very influential, and whatever they say is, they get to a lot more people in society.
In fact, the effect on society is myriad and very devastating. So think they are celebrities, so whatever they do to get them there must be good enough, and that is why they are up there. The bigger challenge we have in all this is that the drugs they abuse tend to be illegal. So if these are illicit drugs, then we commit crime. So, and in that instance, the crime is not limited to probably just going to buy the drug, but the fact that, for instance, heroin is produced from the Middle East, Afghanistan especially, cocaine is from Latin America. And all these are available in Ghana. They have to be shipped down to Ghana. So somebody has to bribe the border force, somebody has to bribe immigration, customs, somebody has to bribe, if they get to court, the judicial, somebody has to bribe everybody. And it's gotten to the extent that even in Guinea-Bissau, there's a time that the drug laws changed hands, and there was a coup d'etat. So they actually removed the president and assassinated him because of drug trafficking. So it goes beyond the individual using drug and damaging his life and his career, but it damages a whole society, such that we commit heinous crimes just for somebody to get drug of abuse to use. And it can affect, governance, because, the people, in Ghana, we've had a certain parliamentarian arrested in the US. So this is somebody who was trafficking drugs and using the money to get into power, to get into parliament. So that is how bad and devastating drug abuse can get. It affects our very fabric of society, which is governance. So it is not somebody just abusing drug to feel high. It's you and I going to be robbed, because when they feel that high and they need to get more high, they don't work, they become counterproductive. They have to steal from you and I who are working. So if somebody pays them money to kill you so that they can get enough drugs, they will. And that is the serious cost of drug abuse to the society.
It does happen that some of these people genuinely want to stop after they've gotten themselves addicted. But how? Because it becomes difficult.
Yeah. So, and that is the next challenge we have. As a country, we still do not understand addiction. Okay. So drug addiction is considered a brain disease. So, and for every disease in medicine, it means we have a way to manage it. The way to manage drug addiction is not one. So when it comes to opioid addiction, we have another medication that can block the feeling of high so that people stop using. When it comes to alcohol addiction, we don't have a drug for it, but rather we use what we call psychotherapy. So there are different ways of managing addictions, and there are different types of addictions. And we have to adopt it as a country that, hey, this is what we want to do, and this is the way we want to go. Currently, apart from the psychiatric hospitals, there are no other government or publicly funded agencies to manage substance addiction. We don't even train the people to go and manage them. And when you manage substance addiction in a mental hospital, you create what we call a double jeopardy, because mental illness is stigmatized, addiction is stigmatized. Then you put the addict who is not mentally ill but have drug addiction as a disease in a mental hospital, so that everybody say that yes, they have a mental disorder, they also have addiction. I mean, why give them what they have not bought? So we need to have stand-alone drug addiction rehabilitation centers, which, it's long overdue. And we need to have a national program to find out which people are abusing drugs, which drugs are they abusing, and then let's adopt the known approaches to manage drug addiction. As at now, we are not doing that. We don't have any policy which is publicly funded to manage drug addiction or substance abuse. The best are being done by private individuals in the country, and it's quite unfortunate. And that also means we are not taking any preventive measures to make sure that young people don't get into it, because we've not even identified the...
All right. I think Dr. Eugene Dodoi made that point clearly there. He is a consultant psychiatrist with the University of Health and Allied Sciences. And of course, he's been sharing some of the ways the country can deal with the challenges of drug addiction. Now, the Secretary East District is plagued by neglected tropical diseases, and now it is emerging from the shackles of this burden. Now, in 2023, health officials identified cases including 2,471 of scabies, 22 of lymphatic filariasis, including 7 deaths among children due to rabies. These findings spurred a proactive response involving case search management, collaboration with stakeholders, and teacher training. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin reports that these efforts are yielding positive results, restoring and saving lives. Let's watch this and have a conversation afterwards.
Meet Daniel Sabatei, a resilient 51-year-old farmer at Edukrom whose fields, once full of promise, now echo with silence. Daniel, who has 6 children, faced adversity when his supportive wife passed away in 2020. The loss brought numerous challenges, compounded by his current struggle with leprosy.
I
began to observe unusual changes on my hands shortly after my wife's passing. Concerned about these changes, I sought medical attention, leading to a diagnosis of leprosy. This revelation has left me feeling desperate and increasingly anxious. I am engaged in farming activities, particularly in cocoa, maize, and cassava cultivation.
According to Daniel, His sickness has impacted his ability to provide for his children's education, a responsibility he once managed well.
Prior to my challenging experience, I dedicated considerable efforts to my work, meticulously weighing my cocoa beans and generating a profit of 4,000 cedis. However, it is now disheartening to see that the farm's income is insufficient even to cover the wages of laborers, let alone provide for my own needs and those of my children. His inability to wheel a cutlass and work because of his leprosy has significantly disrupted our educational pursuits. As a result, we have had to return to the village to assist him, ensuring that he can provide for the family's needs, especially the education of the younger ones. One of the challenges I face on my farm is the uneven distribution of cocoa plants, leaving certain areas empty. I am seeking assistance to fill those vacant spaces. This improvement is anticipated to boost my overall yield and subsequently increase my income.
Well, let's discuss how this progress can be sustained. Dr. Emmanuel Tevio is Deputy Director of Public Health in the Ashanti region. He's joining us for this conversation. First, let's understand the dangers of the neglected tropical disease.
Yeah. Good morning, Aisha. Thanks for having me. First of all, I want to say that I'm standing in for my regional director who should have been here, but due to other competing assignments, he asked me to stand in.
Right.
Very well. Yes. So, yeah, as we could see in the just a summary of the documentary, the neglected tropical diseases are a serious public health problem, considering the fact that they result in disability, which also affects the socio-economic status of the affected persons. And so it's not only a health problem, as you see, but it also contributes or has a very huge effect on the socio-economic well-being people who would have otherwise contributed to the economic development of the country.
Now, let's understand the progress that we've made so far. I want you to share that with me.
Yeah, so we, as a region and also with Ghana Health Service, we continue to look for cases in the various communities. The thing about these NTDs, as we call them, is that they are not very dramatic. In other words, most of them are not acute. They normally come slowly, but create a very bad effect later. So we have our district health directorates teams at the community level searching for cases, and when they get those cases, they link them to care and provide treatment for them. Also, we have normally we do what we call mass drug administration in various communities, where we target the population and give them medication to be able to treat and cure the causes of these entities. So a lot of progress has been made as a country and also as a region, as you can see in this documentary. It was through the active efforts of the health workers going into the communities. Some of the communities are hard to reach, poor communities, to be able to identify these cases so that we can bring them to the limelight and also treat them and make sure that their health is restored and then they are able to continue their economic activities.
How do you intend to sustain these efforts?
Yes, so we do this in collaboration with various partners, both local and international. Normally, you have to engage the communities to be able to mobilize them. And so it's a continuous process of searching for cases in the various communities. Already, we have an existing health system structure up to the community level to be able to identify and pick up these cases. And so we'll continue to build capacity of our health workers so that they can be able to identify these cases. Also, we are using the approach of all of society approach, where we think that communities must be mobilized very well. Communities must be aware that these cases exist in where they live, and they should stop stigmatizing people with these NTDs and hiding them and give them access to healthcare workers so that we can continue to link them together. So we'll continue to collaborate with partners. In this documentary, you see that the Member of Parliament was very instrumental. The traditional authorities are very instrumental. We also have other religious leaders, traditional leaders, all coming on board to support in ensuring that we look for the cases where they are, and then we bring them to treatment so that we can sustain the gains and make sure we control and eliminate these entities in our communities.
Dr. Emmanuel Tevio, I'm grateful for your time. He's Deputy Director of Public Health in the Ashanti region. When we return from this break, we'll be taking you to a press conference live by the teacher unions who are on strike. It's being addressed by the president of NAGRAT. Welcome back to Journey's Desk. Let's take you live to a presser being organized by the 3 teacher unions that are on strike. And I've been joined by Prince Kwame Kudoga, who is monitoring this press conference for us. Prince, what are the highlights of this press conference?
Okay, so Aisha, the 3 teacher unions have, as a matter of immediately called off their strike action. They are going back to the negotiation table with the NLC and other stakeholders, and they want all their demands to be met immediately. And then the reason for calling off the strike is due to the court decision that calling them to go back to the negotiation table. So their strike is called off. They are going back to the negotiation table, and they are hoping that hopefully their demands will be met, and that the president of NAGRAT, Enze Kamboni himself spoke. He mentioned that he described as bad faith the decision of the NLC to go to court without involving them, and that they believe when they go to the negotiations table, their demands will be met. So immediately, all strike actions have been called off. Teachers are supposed to return to class as a matter of urgency in all public pre-tertiary schools across the country. Aisha.
Prince Kwame Kudoga, with that, teachers have, the 3 teacher unions have called off their strike. They are supposed to be going back to the classrooms. It's coming because of the injunction from the NLC. Now, they say they're going back to the negotiation table, and they're hoping that they will get what they're looking for. Let's take a break, and we'll definitely bring you more of this in our subsequent bulletins. When we return, we'll bring you business.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Interest rates have taken another nosedive for the 13th consecutive week this year. However, the government's Treasury bill target was undersubscribed by 50.69% because the Treasury decided to keep the yields down in order to reduce the cost of borrowing. Here's more in this report.
According to the auction results by the Bank of Ghana, interest rates continue to tumble in line with the disinflation process. The 91-day bill fell by 25 basis points to 25.74%. The yield on the 182-day bill also plummeted by 28.24% from the previous weeks of 28.49%. Similarly, the 364-day bill also went down by 25 basis points to 28.84%. Last week, the government received an inflow of $300 million from the World Bank for budgetary support, a move that compelled the government to reduce its borrowing on treasury market. Meanwhile, the T-bills auction surprisingly fell short of its target by 50.69%. The government got 2.354 billion Ghana cedis of the total bid standard. Chunk of the bid standard came from the 91-day bill. About 1.705 billion cedis was offered, and the government accepted all. For the 182-day bill, 510.34 million cedis were the bid standard. The uptake was 510.34 million Ghana cedis. Also, the 364-day bill saw about 138.10 million cedis of the bid standard.
Now, Ghana's interest rate is currently hovering around 29%, spurring high cost of borrowing regime for domestic businesses. Now, according to the managing director of the Ghana Stock Exchange, Abnamwa, this puts Ghanaian businesses at a significant disadvantage compared to their foreign competitors. She spoke to Joy Business in Accra.
The high inflation and interest rate environment in Ghana has meant that many of our Ghanaian companies are essentially working for the banks. Our markets will never grow if our macroeconomic environment isn't right. Our fixed income market, whether it's government or corporate, won't work until we have sustainable and a low interest rate regime. Because you can't compete in Africa if you are borrowing at 30%, and your colleague in Nigeria is borrowing at 11%, or in Kenya is borrowing at 6%. Our Ghanaian institutions won't survive. And so we need low inflation, low interest rates, and sustainable for a long period. So someone can actually come and say, I'm taking 10-year paper, and you are confident that if you give 100 cedis today, in 10 years, you come back in 10 years and it's not worth 1 cedi. But maybe if it's worth 90 cedis over 10 years, but the interest you've collected over the 10-year cycle means that your overall return in 10 years is 150 cedis. It's worth it. If we don't get this right, all of us, our contributions will look outside of Ghana, go and develop other countries' money, and there'll be no jobs, there'll be no employment, there'll be no goods and services.
Now, Ghana will today undergo scrutiny over its performance under the IMF program. The IMF mission has arrived in the country to carry out the review for the next 2 weeks. Here's Shodrafi with more.
The team is in town for this assessment after Ghana passed the first review completed in January this year. The engagement, which starts today, is expected to end next Friday, April 12, 2024. The team will engage officials of the Bank of Ghana, Ministry of Finance, the Presidency, and some civil society groups when it comes to those technical and policy issues. On the actual assessment, this will be based on how Ghana has fared for last year, ending December 2023, when it comes to those targets, monetary policy issues, and the structural benchmarks. The Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, and the Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, are all optimistic that Ghana will pass this review based on how the country has fared over the last half of 2023. This could trigger the release of some $360 million by June this year, subject to the IMF board approving the second review. This would be the first of 2 reviews that will take place this year, whilst the other one will happen in November 2024. Ghana, since it signed up to the IMF program, has received $1.2 billion. This review could also see Ghana coming out with the terms and deal that it has reached with the bilateral creditors and Eurobond holders.
All right, that's it for business. The news continues after this break.
Welcome back to Journey's Desk. The founder and president of the Accident and Victim Support Foundation, a group established to raise funds to aid road crash victims, Reverend Cyril Crab, is asking government and stakeholders in the road sector to extend their support to survivors of road accidents to enable them survive the trauma they go through. He made this call at a program in remembrance of a gory accident in 2019 that claimed more than 100 lives on the Afenyo-Markin highway. Anna Sabit has more.
Known over the years as one of the accident-prone routes in the country, the Afenyo-Markin Tamale stretch has claimed several lives in recent years, with little being done to help curb this worrying menace. Today, the Accident Victim Support Foundation, a charity organization and social intervention program aimed at raising funds to aid road crash victims, is as part of its responsibilities seeking aid to support families of the over 100 people who died in one gory accident 5 years ago. Reverend Cyril Crab is the founder and president of the foundation.
It's 5 years where we lost over 100 people in one day, and on that day the whole Ghana went haywire. We had Black Friday on that day 5 years ago, and we believe that it was a hurt to us where we wish it will never come again. But 5 years on, the question is what has happened to the families of the victims that have met their untimely death through a road crash. And so we, the Accident Victim Support Foundation Ghana, we thought it wise that we should commensurate this 5 years to appeal to government or central government, appeal to corporate Ghana, appeal to insurance companies, or appeal to the police, the entire Ghana, to first and foremost adhere to road safety practices, and then secondly, let's find a way to compensate or wipe the tears of the bereaved families who are left behind.
The said accident was reported to have occurred when the driver of a long truck vehicle collided head-on with a VIP bus between Kintampo and Tichiman. Kwesi Apia is urging drivers to drive with care as well as take intermittent rests when embarking on long journeys.
So when you see 2019, you could do see what me who say that the admin built him say a na brana driver for a break. Na ebia one tenase na one make a crabby and kofa to renche mo sabe one a woni ahodo onye driver for mo de tu mo kwan a won ka bi nhemu ewu ya e bi si omo ha kokobo mechanism mesere yenu am driver for say yemfa road safety emra ye be mom sa driver for emfa nya djuma enu achi o kasha na bra wan kasa woni pedua ho hia eso pepe bi yode oji wa home na se de sa no man nyina eye adwuma ebeboa
Vivian Musa is a daughter of one of the lost victims of the 2019 accident. She admonishes drivers to drive with care and called on passengers to desist from piling pressures on drivers to speed on highways.
My little advice for drivers is that they should be careful when they are driving. If you are tired, just park and rest. And sometimes, about our dad say, sometimes the passengers too, driver, we want it fast, we want to go where, so drive fast. The little advice that I can give to the passengers and at the same time the drivers is that we love our precious life. So please, we are begging them.
Reverend Crab also appealed to stakeholders in the road traffic sector to work towards ensuring that road accidents are minimized to the barest minimum. Anna Sabit, Joy News, Kintampo.
And that's how we wrap up the bulletin this morning on Joy News Desk. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjournal.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 12.